Right.
I wasn't listening, sorry.
Can't get it
Right.
wrong.
5, 4, 3. Good evening and welcome to the Defiance City Council meeting for tonight, August 6th, 2024. Before we get underway, we have Pastor Aaron Hobson from Experience Church, who has graciously come to open us up in prayer. Thank you for being our guest this evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just love you. We're just so thankful, Lord, for what you're doing in this community, Lord, and what you're doing in this city, God. And tonight, I just ask your presence be in this place, Lord, that you just continue to guide and lead those that sit on this council, Lord. Give them wisdom, give them discernment, Lord. Speak to their hearts. Allow them to continue to lead, Lord, as you have called them to do in this great city, Lord. And we just ask your presence, again, just be in this place and continue leading and guiding those members of this great council. We just ask this in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our guest, and thank you for your continued service to the city of Defiance.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This meeting is called to order. Let the record show that all the members of council are present except for Mr. Waxler and Mr. Corbett. Mr. Corbett told us last time that we were together he would not be able to make it this evening. Do we have a motion to excuse Mr. Corbett this evening?
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Mast.
Second.
Second, Mr. Hancock. All those in favor of excusing Mr. Corbett this evening, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And Mr. Waxler let me know that his schedule changed and he was unable to make it this evening. He did indicate last time we were together that may be the case, and it was. Do we have a motion to? Motion, Mr. Uresti. Second, Mr. Engel. All those in favor of excusing Mr. Waxler this evening, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? They're both excused. All right, would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we have a couple special guests. First up, Jennifer English is here, the City of Defiance MS4 coordinator, and has brought several people with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer English, and I brought a crew here from Defiance College. Dr. Mankey, President Mankey, Dr. Caldwell, Dr. Brown, and Dana Peterson is going to be doing a short presentation for us. So I'll read a brief introduction for Dana, and then we'll let her get started. Dana Peterson is a senior at Defiance College, pursuing a double major in communication studies and English. She will be graduating later this month, here in August 2024. While on campus, she has participated in many clubs and organizations, most notably as co-editor-in-chief of The Defender, student senate secretary, and a scholar for the McMaster School for Advancing Humanity. Serving as the communications assistant, Dana works to disseminate information about the Defiance Research Alliance throughout Defiance and around the Maumee watershed. So we're going to be hearing from her for just a few minutes just to give everyone an overview of this important project.
All right, so hello, I'm Dana Peterson. I am the water quality communications assistant for Defiance Research Alliance. So today I'll be telling you guys some information about what Research Alliance is and how it functions. So in terms of the staff positions on this project, we have Dr. Sabrina Brown, who is our project director, Jen English, who is our project coordinator, and Caitlin Smith, who is our freshwater research technician. So for our project overview, this project is a partnership between Defiance College and the City of Defiance. So because of Defiance's central location within the Maumee watershed, it's a great place to conduct that applied scientific and academic research about water quality and source water protection. So in terms of the background of this project, it was first a congressionally directed spending request from the office of Senator Sherrod Brown, and also prompted by the Fund for the Development or for the Improvement of Post-Secondary Education from the Department of Education. This is a 3-year grant program, and part of this grant is continuing to find funding to make this project sustainable for the future. So the real highlight of this project is our research assistants. So first, our undergraduate research assistants are undergraduate students from Defiance College that work within the Defiance Research Alliance's framework to conduct their own individual water quality related projects. So last year in 2023, we had Hallie Webb, who looked into algae dynamics in the reservoir. And this year we have Carrie Smith, whose project will be continued on throughout this school year, so she gets to choose that this fall. Last year, Hallie was highlighted on the cover of the Land to Lake magazine and given an article in the magazine about all of her research with the project. Also, the secondary research assistants are students from local Defiance County high schools that are chosen to participate. Last year, we had 2 students from Fairview High School, Levi and Michaela, and this year we have 2 students from Ayersville High School, Mabel McGuire and Taylor Waldron. In terms of the sampling process, so weekly our research assistants go out into the field and do sampling. They collect diatoms, measure the water clarity, and use the YSI multimeter, which is this cool device that measures nutrients and elements within the water source. They also collect samples from different places around Defiance, like the reservoir, Independence Dam, and the pond at Defiance College. And they also get tributary samples from the city of Defiance to look at more of that source water information. So the Maumee Watershed Research Center at Defiance College is located in 106 Rao Hall. In 2023, this entire space was renovated with new equipment that was funded by Defiance Research Alliance. This space hosts our speaker series events, classes, and the lab testing for the samples that I talked about before. So some things that they look for in the lab are pH levels of the water, nutrients, and algae. So along with the research center being developed, the Watershed Council was also developed. So it's broken down into a couple different parts. First, the executive committee, which is made up of city and college officials, works more on those long-term decision-making things, while the core working group is more about the day-to-day operations of the project. And in terms of partners, we work with a few different water-focused groups, including the Upper Maumee Watershed Partnership, the Maumee Watershed Alliance, and the Conservation Action Program. So in terms of outreach, my job as communication assistant is tasked with making the research more accessible to a general public audience. The research is also presented through different publications, conferences, presentations that are given by our staff and research assistants. And then we also do a lot of different things with partners that help us host events like farmer roundtables in our speaker series. So last year in the picture you can see Kyle Verhoff from OSU Extension came to speak at the updated Maumee Watershed Research Center. He presented on Ohio pollinators and native plants. And our partners allow us more funding opportunities and grant opportunities. We also send out a quarterly newsletter just to keep people updated. So upcoming, we have a new conservation ditch coming to Delaware County, or Delaware Township here in Defiance County. So a few benefits of these are listed up on the slide, as well as the location and different styles of conservation ditches. So a few benefits include stabilizing ditch banks, lowering the water surface elevation, and creating valley storage. For Defiance Research Alliance, this will be used as another sampling location to help our research assistants get more data and more info about water quality and source water protection. So lastly, feel free to scan the QR code up on the screen or visit us online at landtolake.org/DRA. You can also join our mailing list by scrolling all the way to the bottom of this website, and joining that will allow you to stay updated and receive some emails about what we're doing and how our project's going. So thank you, and I'll pass it back to Jen.
Hold on. Before you sit down,
Oh.
Jen gave me this
Yes.
yesterday or today, and I've had a chance to review it, and it's my understanding you did this.
Yes.
Excellent work. I mean, it's 2 pages of a lot of very good information, easy to understand, and it's good information, it's appropriate, so nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job, Dana. I promised her she wouldn't have to answer questions. So, I'm glad to take any questions. Most of you know how to get a hold of me, and my contact information is on the website, on the Land to Lake website. But if anybody here has questions.
Question,
Yeah.
Mr. Hancock.
Yeah, Jen, with the 3-year grant, are we in the first year, are we in the second, third?
We are approaching, we're in the second year.
Okay,
So we actually, one of the things that Dana did was took, Dr. Brown and I worked on the full first year annual report, the long written report, and one of Dana's first assignments was to take that and turn it into a kind of a 1-page, similar to that, kind of a fact sheet. So that 1-page year in review actually will be coming out in our summer newsletter. But Dr. Brown and I are working on, we're getting close to the year 2 annual report, so.
and with that, do you feel, are you eligible to reapply for the same grant, or, I mean, I'm looking like, let's say 5-10 years down the road, how we.
Yeah.
That's, if
So
at all
that's-
possible.
Yeah, so that's a good that's a good example of one of the decisions that our executive committee makes, which is President Mankey, Dr. Caldwell, Mayor McCann, and Ryan Mack are on that executive committee. So we have the kind of the sustainability plan, right? There's some things that we can apply for, environmental education grants, partnering with different groups, but those long-term, the earmarks, the congressionally directed spending, things like that, looking at bigger pots of money or funding opportunities, that's something that we that we're strategizing on and where we're going in year 3 through 5. We have funding for the next full year, right? So after year 3, that's where we will be
Do you see a lot
reapplying for those.
Sorry, do you see a lot of growth and communication with local rural areas with the program? Have you seen a lot of that?
So we've had, you saw the 2 different high schools. It was just a coincidence that we had two students from each, Fairview and Ayersville. But yeah, we've had a lot of interest, and we've been gaining more partners and more collaborators along the way.
That
So
was a perfect example of the ditch project, that's very nice.
that was written into the original grant so that we would have an additional site for students to conduct research.
Nice
So,
job.
Thank you.
Mr. Mast.
Beyond the scholastic side of it and the research side, have you seen been able to make contact with farmers and people in the community that are affected or affecting?
So yes, there's a lot of overlap, right? So one of the things that Dana talked about was the Farmers Roundtable that we did at Defiance College. So we had a group of 25 farmers that came to Defiance College, and they were in Fort Wayne first, next they were in Defiance, and then lastly they went to Lake Erie. They were in the Toledo area. While they were here, they took a tour of the water treatment plant, and so really working with those other groups rather than us doing all of the convening, right? So we're working with Upper Maumee to do the speaker series, Maumee Watershed Alliance to do those farmer roundtables. But we're getting more and more interest and understanding that farmers that we're talking to want to know what information we can share from the water treatment plant. They're always surprised when they hear what we're dealing with and managing the reservoir and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it takes time to build those relationships, but that's been very rewarding. So
The ag community's engaged on this, especially the younger generations, the ones that are just coming out of school. They've gone to college, they've studied agriculture and ag science and all that stuff, and so they're quite engaged in this and quite interested. So it's fun to watch, to be honest with you.
well, and I will say just a key piece of this is being able to talk about what we're doing, right? When we put our heads down, and some of us on our core working group, we've got folks from the water plant, wastewater plant that are part of our core working group. We have a new assistant water superintendent. So taking that research that Hallie did, she really did a deep dive and studied what was going on in the municipal reservoir. But even taking her scientific research and putting it into a format that that I can understand, you know, much less the general public can understand, and being able to share that. So that's why we're excited that Dana's on board and she's doing great work for us. So thank you for allowing her some time. Any other questions?
Any other
Just
questions?
one more. Sure. Are you also engaging homeowners and in any way, in an educational manner, as far as what their lawn applications are doing, their runoff?
So in a related fashion, with Land to Lake, we're doing that more through our MS4 program and sort of the rain garden initiative that we've had and the resources that we have on our website. We're actually talking about doing, with some of our partners, talking about doing an urban field day where, you know, there's a lot of emphasis on field days that are out in the farm fields. And that was the intent of this program, was to do that water quality research with the ag community, but we're talking about putting together an urban field day where we're, you know, giving folks that are part of, you know, you heard Kyle's presentation was about pollinators and native plants, and so there is a lot of interest in that. Most of the people that attended that speaker series were folks that were in town and either have rain gardens or are interested in it. So yeah, it's just a slightly different, it's all under that same umbrella though, so.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. The last thing I wanted to say was just congratulations and best of luck to Dr. Brown. We've been working together on this, I think for a year before we even found out that we got the funding, right? So we've been working together for about 3 years, and she's gonna be leaving us. She's gonna be leaving Defiance, moving closer to home and your family. So she's been part of our family, and I think some of you heard us having a really good time before the meeting started. And so we're gonna miss her, and I just wanted to recognize her and what a great job she's done as our project director. So thank you. Thanks.
Dr. Brown, where's home?
Indiana.
Indiana? Okay. The whole state?
Oh. I told her she wouldn't have to answer questions either.
Sorry. Well, thank you.
Thank you all.
See, John,
Appreciate it.
you did it again.
Our second guest this evening is Erica Willitzer, of course, with the Economic Development Update. Thanks for being our guest
Thank
this
you for
evening.
letting us go first. Oh, yeah, do you guys need to leave? Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm gonna leave this with you. That's okay. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Defiance College.
Thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate the partnership.
Thank you. You guys are, we're all free to go.
You're free to stay,
We're free to say or go.
but we're never offended.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. I'm gonna do a quick update of some of the different happenings that I can talk about tonight. First up would be Metal-X. So Metal-X announced earlier this year that they are coming to Defiance in the Enterprise Industrial Park. The groundbreaking is gonna happen sometime in the fall. And then also, and Melinda's here with me, we're working on, thank goodness, I'm glad that you're here in case there's any questions when it comes to engineering. We're working on doing some turn lanes on Baltimore to alleviate the truck traffic that could be potentially there when the company site's there. Job and Commerce, so Jobs Ohio, there's a grant there, but then we're also going to apply for some other grant funding in March of 2025. So we're hoping to try to get a lot of that taken care of. What doesn't get taken care of will be picked up by the company. So once we get the date for the groundbreaking, you guys will all be invited to that. Also DECT, which you will be getting legislation for an enterprise zone tax abatement in the next coming weeks. The schools have already approved the tax abatement. I think the one thing that the public doesn't know about yet, which is fabulous news, is that this is going to create 70 new jobs in Defiance. And it's a $14 million investment, and 10 million of that is gonna be real property, and the project will make school donations. So this is gonna be a great project. Every time we talk with DECT, they're just gaining a lot of popularity. They have a great marketing team, and they have great strategies when it comes to marketing their products. If you don't know, they do all the shelving units in the back of trucks. I know the mayor and I have talked about this before.
They're builders.
Yeah, they're builders, that's right.
We actually have them in city trucks too.
Do you really?
Some of the toolboxes in some of the city trucks. Yes.
Oh, we need to get you on one of their cool commercials.
Not me.
I would say, I'm gonna say it, you should go watch some of their commercials. They're a little inappropriate, but very funny. Not over the line inappropriate, just by the way. So there's that news, and again, you should be getting that legislation in the coming weeks. Another thing that Ryan and the mayor and I participated in was something called Site Ohio. And Paige in our office worked really hard on this, so did Melinda, and getting all sorts of data for the Harmon Business Park, Stadium, and Carpenter Drive site, which is around 170 acres. So we submitted all this, and we had to go through a lot of processes, but we made it to the final round where we got invited by Jobs Ohio RGP to really, we got invited to be like judged is really what it comes down to. But you learn when you get, constructive criticism. So we had these national site selectors that came in, and we did a site tour. We went in detail over those sites. And in the next 2 weeks, we're expected to get a full report on what things that we need to do at those sites in order to land an end user. So already, so there was a representative at the meeting for Harmon Business Park, and already they're working on some of the things that they're working ahead of it before they even get the report. So I think that that's going to be good, but it is going to reveal some things that we need to work on so that we can make sure we get an end user at those sites. Do you guys have anything to add to that? Okay. The other thing I wanted to update you guys on is housing developers. We continue to, work with different housing developers that are interested. Something that keeps coming up, and I just kind of want to get ahead of it a little bit and make sure you're aware. We're wanting to potentially, they're asking about TIFs, which is the tax increment financing tool that you can use where you redirect the property taxes off of the new building. How it works is that the developer would upfront the money for the infrastructure, and then once the taxes start, they would get reimbursed by that tax. That real property would go back to get them reimbursed for their expenses. So there is no cost per se to the city. I know that we're talking to one developer where there might be some legal fees that are incurred, but we found out that those can also be recovered for the city through the TIF. So those are things that we're working out. We're trying to be creative and trying to land some housing because we know that housing is a real need. Other things, the 4 Flags of Freedom. We just got the surveys done, or they're getting done this week for the last 2 flags. So that means that we'll be coming to Planning Commission to get those last 2 flags finalized. So we're excited about that. So we're saying maybe fall, last quarter of the year, we should have those other 2 flags up. We are still raising funds for maintenance and a display to honor all the local vets at each location. And those will be different. So we get asked a lot about like Whirler's location where you can't get to the flag. We'll have that displayed like at their front door or somewhere on their location where people can go and see the veterans' names. So working on that, and we will continually do fundraisers for the maintenance. And Paige and Carly in our office are, oh my gosh, they're so much fun. They're coming up with so many cool vet type events that we can do to bring awareness to all the local veteran offices, like offices and agencies, and then also raising funds for the flag. So we're very excited about that. And then last, I just wanted to mention our summer manufacturing camp that we had in June, which was sponsored by General Motors. We had 45 campers this year, which was a lot more than we're used to. We had a few most of them were good. We had a few stinkers in that entire group. And Paige and Carly really worked hard to make it very different in the respect that it was constant engagement. They were either building something or they were doing a tour. So they toured General Motors, they toured the airport, they toured the water plant here. Also, I mentioned like hands-on activity. Melinda had them build a water tower with sticks and marshmallows, and once the marshmallows came out, they all lost their minds. They made a mess, but so every year, after we get done with summer camps, I'm like, man, I don't know if we should do this anymore. It's just like, and then we get all the phone calls from the parents, from the companies that will tell us these little moments that happen, or they'll send me videos. I had one parent send me a video and they were showing them building their STEM kit that we gave them. Well, and General Motors paid for it, but they're building it, tearing it down, building it, tearing it down. And like, they're like, my kid is never occupied this long, and they've been working on it all Saturday. So thank you for doing the summer manufacturing camp. So we're gonna keep doing it. It is a good thing. We're very grateful for all those that participate, like Melinda, the city, when we tour the water plant, kids have great questions. So we're just, we're gonna keep doing it, and it is worth it, even though we get a few that don't quite behave. But Kim has told us some things of how we need to, working in the school system before, she's like, this is what we need to do, so we're gonna be on it. So that's all I have that I can share with you in public. Any questions for me?
You were so thorough. Yes, you don't have any questions.
Just talk about marshmallows and we're good.
Eric, I will ask you, something we've talked about a couple times here. It was recently reported that unemployment rates have risen, not only in Defiance County, but our surrounding counties. And I just mentioned that, we all are constantly engaging with our local employers, and I've not really heard of any of them that are doing any significant layoffs that would have impacted those numbers. So
the only ones that,
and you don't have to mention any names.
No, I mean, it's, I think as we probably all know, we see it, Rite Aid, Big Lots put their signs up. We've had several of those employees reach out to our office, and we're trying to work to get them placement. Also, Ohio Means Jobs, they have a rapid response team that goes in and also helps them. That's the only place that I've seen it. When we meet with businesses every week, and everywhere we've met, they either say they're staying where they're at, or they still are adding, or they have plans to add. Now, I know this week has been a little, hopefully it all is just one little momentary thing and then it settles down. But for the most part, when we've been meeting with the local businesses, they're retaining, and even from a even more positive standpoint, 3 years ago, we would go and meet with people and they'd say, we need 100 people, 50 people, we can't find anybody. This one business I visited, and I don't want to put them on the spot because I think they want to be pretty quiet about what they're doing. They in the last 2 years, they've created their own training program. They couldn't retain, they couldn't keep their workers, they couldn't get the skills that they needed for what they do, and so they created their own training program. I visited them earlier, it was last week, and they made the comment that we're fully staffed and we're even working to build up to add another 30. And when I met with them a year and a half ago, that wasn't the case. They were really struggling. So it does seem to be the trend that is good. That's a good thing that's happening, but a little concerning on the retail.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I've reviewed the index minutes for the council meeting of July 23rd. Is there a motion to correct or amend the index minutes as presented? All right, without any, I'll sign them. And do we have any Any liaison meeting requests or reports? Do we have any comments from council this evening? Mr. Mast?
I just had a question. I see we've had some upgrades at the railroad crossing on West High, and I was curious if that was indicative of increasing traffic on that line, and if there'd be any effect on Webster Street or Carpenter Road
I don't think
crossing.
there's expected additional traffic. They are trying to work towards getting a little higher speed limit than the 5 mile an hour that they're on now, but they have a long way to go yet before they'll get there, Mr. Mask. As far as increase in traffic, no. Living out that way, that signal has been a little bit wonky over the years. Coming into work in the morning and it's flashing and you stop and you look and don't see anything, and then I let Melinda know and it's malfunctioning. So I think all they were trying to do is get a reliable signal put up there.
So there won't be any further effect where it crosses Webster or Carpenter? They won't be
Nope.
introducing crossbucks there?
I think Melinda did inform you late last week that CSX is gonna be shutting down several of our at-grade crossings through the city here, and it's gonna be inconvenience for a while.
Fulmer Road is shut down now. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from council? All right, Mayor McCann.
I have nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple items I wanted to go over with council. So first off, when you came in, you would have seen in front of you a couple of sheets and a nice sticker. So these are all from our Parks and Riverfront Master Plan. One of the sheets has a QR code on it. You will see these flyers hung up around town. You will see them on our Facebook page. I would urge you and anyone in the community or even the surrounding community outside of the city of Defiance, scan those QR codes, go in, take the survey. This will help us develop the plan for what we want to see moving forward. When that plan comes out, it's going to be taking in all of those opinions, all of those ideas from people and kind of refining them down to one thing we can actually work on. Aside from that one survey, the other sheet in front of you talks about our community workshop that is on September 23rd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Strady Center. So that will be the company that is doing this plan for us. They will be there asking questions, talking to people in the public, really anyone who wants to come, who has an idea, who has a question. That's their opportunity to come up and actually talk to somebody in person rather than just talking or rather than just filling out a survey. So feel free to put your stickers out to spread, the awareness of our plan moving forward and share the survey, share those dates and times. We want to get as many responses as possible. So that was the first item. Second item, the mayor touched on, the CSX crossings are going to be closed. The crossings are at Squires, Ravine, Jackson, and Dietrich. We're looking more towards the end of the week still, correct?
I'm waiting on an update from them,
And-
hopefully I'll get it tomorrow.
Be closed roughly 2 weeks is what we're being told. So that will be happening. CSX, it's their lines. They kind of tell us when they're working on them and we will adjust and we will make it work here in the city. Lastly, and I am kind of kicking myself for not bringing it in because I received my postcard. I believe Kim received her postcard as well. There are postcards that went out based on an EPA rule for lead and, it's the EPA lead and copper rule revision. We have to have a water service line inventory throughout the city of Defiance so that we can show our knowledge of what is out in our system. So this postcard is going to ask people to take a look in their house, take a look at what their water lines look like, and respond to a very short 3-question survey, I believe.
Right.
So they follow the link on the postcard, fill out the 3-question survey. There's an option to attach a picture if they want to of what the line looks like itself. If they complete this survey, they will receive $5 off their water bill. So we will work on that. So for just 3 quick questions, get $5 off your water bill. This is also a requirement of us through the EPA to have this inventory in place. And, we don't want to threaten, we don't want to say anything to that nature, but going down the line, if we can't have this whole list of everything in the city, it could come to the point where the EPA is asking us to go into people's yards and dig up water lines. wants to verify them. Nobody wants it to go that far. Nobody wants that to be the issue. So we're just asking, please fill out the surveys, get your $5 off your water bill, help us complete, this listing that we want, this inventory of water lines.
No, Mr. Mack, from what I understood in the email, not every single person is going to get this card, only those who don't, or
Only the
city
people
doesn't
that,
know what they
yeah,
have.
that is correct. It's approximately 2,000 people, I believe, that are going to receive these postcards. But it's people that we do not have inventory, we do not have information in our system on what type of water lines they have.
So if they don't get one,
If they don't get one, we already
probably
have
don't.
them in the books, no worries. Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Mr. President. That is all for now, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Administrator, Mr. Mack, neglected to mention that we decided 5 minutes ago that we're gonna also order lapel pins for these. Can we have Miss Debbie order lapel pins?
We can do that, sir.
It's not fraud, waste, and abuse. No. So stay tuned for that. You can wear them on your blazers for your polo matches, your dart leagues, cotillions and such. And then-
Pickleball.
Pickleball, thank you. I was at the tip of my tongue. I would also request an executive session to consider confidential information related to, let's go with production techniques of an applicant for economic development assistance, as well as negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting the request for economic development assistance that involve public infrastructure improvements and the extension of utility services directly related to the project, Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G8.
We have a request for an executive session this evening.
so move.
So moved. Second, Mrs. Crutch. All those in favor of having an executive?
I'm just gonna do a roll call.
Thank you.
Mr. Engel,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Mr. Rusty,
Yes.
Mr. Mass,
Yes.
Mrs. Crutch.
Yes.
Then before we adjourn for the evening, we'll have an executive session. Is there anything else?
That's all for now.
And Ms. Bragg?
The only thing I have is the bank reconciliation for July. I need you to all initial when we're done.
Got it. Okay. We do have 7 items of legislation for consideration this evening.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Did I do something wrong?
No.
Okay. First reading by caption only, an ordinance vacating the rights of way between Martin Avenue and Madison Avenue in the Eastview addition to the city of Defiance.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is second of 3 required readings for this right-of-way vacation. It is in the East View Edition, lots 88 and 89. Planning Commission recommended vacation at the July 15th meeting. And I believe that vote was unanimous. City engineer found no private or public utility in the vicinity or within those rights-of-way. So a successful motion to let consideration of this item lay for the next meeting would obviously bring it back to the 3rd reading. That will make for a lot of ordinances next week. Thought 7 was bad. Next week we're looking at 9. So, cancel your dart leagues and your pickleball tournaments.
Do we have any questions for Mr. O'Donnell?
No questions. Motion to let this matter lie for a 3rd reading?
We have motion to let lie for a 3rd reading.
Second.
Mrs. Crutch? All those in favor of letting this issue lie until we meet next time, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we will return to this next week.
First reading by caption only, second, what?
Second reading.
Oh, second reading by caption only, an ordinance vacating the right of way between 413 and 425 Rolfe Street and 836 King Street in K. Lewis First Edition to the city of Defiance.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Mr. President, again, this is week 2 of the 3 required readings. This one's the right-of-way between 413 and 425 Rolfe Street. Again, Planning Commission recommended vacation on July 15th. And hopefully we can knock this out in the next meeting.
Mr. Hancock.
Motion to let lie.
So we have a motion to let lie.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mask. All those in favor of letting this issue lie, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And we will revisit this one next week as well.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance approving an agreement to accept sewage from the Ayersville Water and Sewer District.
Mr. O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city has been making a long attempt to modernize the water and sewer rates, for that matter, for all of our customers, to try to make it more even and fair. And that's actually been an effort. It's been going back years. But the conversation kind of picked up with Mrs. Sprague and discussion we had on water and sewer rates last year. And city's been negotiating with the Ayersville Water and Sewer District recently. We obviously did the water part of the contract in 2021. Now we're negotiating the sewer agreement. The initial one dates back to 1969. That's how long the city and Ayersville have been partnering on this endeavor. And the existing sewer contract that we have in our file dates back to March of 1997. So it's that one is a 40-year agreement. Both sides here, we think that a refresh or a redo of the agreement is overdue, subject to council approval, of course. Madam Clerk, would you go to page 6 of the contract? Oh, yeah.
Tell me when to stop, because my numbers are off.
There it is. Just stop right here. These were some rates, a rate schedule recommended to us by my colleagues at the Utilities and Building Office. Kim helped us with that, and so did Lori Flory. Currently, the Ayersville Water and Sewer District customer, they're paying below what the other satellites are paying. I believe currently they're in the 2s. And we're trying to get them caught up to everyone else. But we also understand going and pushing the throttle all at once would create some kind of hardship. So we're trying to do it over the next just over 3 years. So that's our plan on how to do that. We've shared those numbers with Ayersville. And this proposed contract would enable us to do just that. And I've been told that the Ayersville district meets next week to approve this contract as well.
Do we have any questions for Mr. O'Donnell? Mr. Engel?
Motion to let lie.
We have a motion to let lie. Do we have a second? Mr. Arrested? All those in favor of letting this issue lie until we reconvene next time, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we will revisit this one as well.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing a contract for the construction of the Bicentennial Alley off 2nd Street and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Sprague?
Yes, the Bicentennial Alley, I know we've talked about it before in the past, but just to remind you, it's located between DR Computers and Linda's Glass, extending back behind and then coming up by Meeks. It was grant approved for $175,000 out of the CDBG funds, correct? It was in the budget under the capital, but it is fully grant funded. The contractor is supposed to start right around September 1st, and then the completion date is November 1st. And the aesthetics will match the other 4 pedestrian alleyways in the downtown. Wanda, do you have anything else to add?
They were under our estimate.
Yes, they were.
Same contractor that's.
And
doing
same
the courthouse.
Yep.
So this is wholly grant funded?
Yep.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Sprague?
Nobody must have told the contractors to grant funding before.
Maybe on something. And so, do we have a motion to address this issue? Mr. Hancock?
Motion to let lie.
We have a motion to let lie. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Engel? All those in favor of letting this issue lie until next week, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. We will let this one lie until next week.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing a contract for the replacement of the sanitary sewer on East Second Street and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This was a budgeted, it was 8-inch sewer line that needed to be fixed, replaced, on East Second Street, as I said, between Ravine and Euclid. So again, it was budgeted for, we have the project in the works, we have the contractor ready to go. This project, scheduled completion date is October 30th, so I don't know if we have a start date on it, but we do have a date that it has to be done by. So we would like to get this one knocked out. This one also came in, like the alley, under budget.
Excellent. Do we have any questions in these regards for Mr. Mack? Right. Then what are council's wishes in these regards?
No further questions, motion's been and called.
Except we can't suspend the call.
I appreciate the enthusiasm though.
I forgot we're down two.
Beg pardon?
I forgot we're down two.
Yeah.
Motion to let it lie.
Okay, then we'll let this one lie.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Crutch, and all in favor of letting this one lie until we reconvene next week, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We will address this one next week as well.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance directing the city administrator to apply for a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission to assist with the roadway and pedestrian improvements on Ottaway Avenue and declare an emergency.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So this is our attempt to gather some more grant funding for a large project. As you can see from your ordinance, roughly $3.3 million. The engineer has worked very hard to roll several different grants already together. This is us wanting to apply for another one. The project in the Ottawa Avenue area is just an extension of what this city has worked on for several years, predates me, working on that connectivity piece through those neighborhoods, that area of town. Because it obviously predates me, I wanted to bring, the mayor can obviously speak to some of it, but the engineer has worked very hard along with our city planner to make these connections happen. So if you have any questions, she is here to answer them.
Do we have any questions in these regards?
Linda, why don't you outline a little bit of the scope, what our vision is for that tonight for council? I know they can't act on this, but I know you probably aren't gonna be able to be here next Tuesday, we talked about, so.
This would essentially, with this project happening in 26, it'll be like the last piece of the pedestrian connectivity of the entire Ottawa Avenue, Ayersville Avenue corridor. So.
We're finishing.
Great.
Get it knocked
Yeah,
out.
exactly. There'll be some pavement improvements from where they end at Agnes, so we'll get new curbs and gutters from there to Patain. The multi-use path will be extended from where it ends near Agnes north to Blaine, where currently the crossing is. The rectangular rapid flashing beacon crossing is, and then we'll do other sidewalk improvements as needed all the way up to Hopkins.
Oh,
Answered my question.
answer your question? Mr. Mast.
So this is seeking additional grant funding for the project that
Yes.
we've already talked about.
Correct, we already have, 1.3 million pledged from ODOT, we've applied, Nikki's applied for about 897,000 from CDBG. This would be another 325,000 for that project.
Mrs. Crutch.
Yeah, is there going to be sidewalks on both sides of the streets?
So where the multi-use path is, that'll be it, right? So the multi-use path
Okay.
will just be on the east side, but the rest of the sidewalk improvements that we're making from that, where the multi-use path ends to Hopkins, those would remain on both sides. But those would just be the 5-foot wide sidewalks.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? Okay. Then
Motion to let lie.
motion to let lie, Mr. Mast. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Engel. All those in favor of letting this issue lie until we reconvene next week, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we will address this one next week as well.
First reading by caption only, an ordinance directing the city administrator to apply for a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission to construct roundabouts on Ralston Avenue and declare an emergency.
Mr. Mack.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Similar intro to the last one, although in a different area of town. It's a $3.5 million project. The engineer, the city planner have worked diligently to secure grant funding already for it. This is our attempt to secure more grant funding to bring the project to fruition. Linda, do you have anything you want to touch on with it? Okay.
Unless there's questions, I'm
Well,
happy to
it's-
answer any questions.
Roundabout,
Two
going into
roundabouts.
the Wooded Acres subdivision and ProMedica.
Yep.
And then on up at Harding or Latchaw, whatever you prefer to call it there, and
Pedestrian connectivity
Yep.
from Latchaw up to Ralston and then over to Deal Park.
we showed Duncan when they brought their site plan to us.
Yes.
Initially, probably a year ago now.
Right.
Exactly what our plan was. They're on board. They understand that there's gonna be a disruption in their business during this process. As does ProMedica, as do the folks that live back in Wooded Acres, but there, for the most part, seems to be strong support for this project.
Mr. Mast?
Linda, I think the biggest question I've had people ask is what necessitates the two versus one at that location? I mean, there was no way to make this just
There wasn't.
one roundabout.
We would have had too much property impacts to some of the businesses that were there if we tried to combine all of those incoming approaches and entrances into one roundabout.
It would have involved eliminating the pond.
Yeah.
And that pond actually functions for ProMedica as part of their HVAC system, I understand.
Right.
And so that was gonna be kind of an issue.
We looked at it, that's a great question.
With the development back on Latchaw, with, at that time, when we first started looking this, was credit adjustments. Now Keller, of course, and the new senior development. Gonna be a lot of traffic at that intersection. Again, Harding, Latchaw, whatever you wanna call it, and Sessions. So we discussed it. We probably wanted to do that.
Do we have any other questions? Right, Mrs. Chris?
To let lie.
Motion to let lie. Second, Mr. Mast. All those in favor of letting this issue lie until next week, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we will readdress all these issues next week. Did any of council have citizens' concerns? I've received, over the last year or so, multiple cards or letters, not so much emails, and they're usually of the ranting variety. As we've seen in the last couple of weeks, if someone sends it and they have their name and their address showing that they are Defiance citizens, I usually read those during citizens' concerns, especially if there's an actual question or a tangible concern. But if you send in a email or a letter or a card with no name, no return address, and just a rant with no questions about the city, I'll probably file that where it belongs. So, but real concerns, contact me, contact a member of council, we'll address it. No, if there's no citizens' concerns, we do have a few minutes to stretch our legs before we enter executive session.